So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all you beautiful viewers around the globe. And I hope and pray that you're creating a beautiful world for yourself in this bit of chaos that we're in at the moment, but riding the wave and creating consciously into your world what it is you really, truly desire. So another intimate conversation, and today's guest is the beautiful Jen Ward. Welcome, Jen, and thank you so much for saying yes and coming in.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you and be present. It's
beautiful.
Wonderful.
I'm excited to have this conversation. There's so much to unfold in here. I can feel it already.
Mm-hmm.
So I will just introduce you, Jen, with the bio that you've sent in. And so Jen Ward is a dynamic healer, performance coach, and group facilitator. She has devoted her life to helping others unlock their true potential. She is also an accomplished writer and poet. Jen's extraordinary and challenging personal journey has gifted her with a unique ability to perceive in energy, read akashic records, and shift stagnant energy. This, along with her spiritual freedom tapping techniques, allows Jen to work with clients to see and remove the blockages to happiness and effectiveness that exist within any individual. Jen is the creator of the SFT Tapping protocol. SFT Tapping is different to other affirmations because it bypasses the ego. This is the secret source to Jen's powerful energy, healing work with clients and the collective to uplift all of humanity. Jen is the author of 19 books, that's just wow, 19, and is in the process of updating several of them. Most notably, Jen has recently published the second edition of the SFT Lexicon, a roadmap and an easy to follow guidebook for anyone seeking to transform and uplift themselves as a stepping stone to transcendence, higher consciousness, and enlightenment. She has recently published her latest poetry book, Jenuine Poetry for Life, Poems to Uplift Humanity. I love it, Jen. Amazing work. And I mean, obviously, we're going to hear about how you got into all of this and what was life like for you when you were a child. Were you born sort of awake, or did you struggle your way through and finding yourself?
I think I was like a lot of people. I was born awake, but I didn't know it because of all the chaos and confusion and the poverty around me. So it was like the awakeness was met with the opposite.
Yes.
And so I didn't get to really appreciate how awoke I was until much later.
Right. And it is like that, isn't it? You know things, but you don't quite know where that all fits in that time, because we have those childhood, mostly traumas sometimes that we have to go through, learnings and growing and all of that. But it does take a little while to get where you're going with it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the thing that I'm figuring out right now, in that with one of my 5D forms, one of my events, is that with every traumatic event, buried underneath all that is one nugget, at least one nugget of awakening that it's burying over. So
Yes.
if you can unbury all that trauma, you can get to your own empowerment through that little nugget.
Absolutely. And it's I grew to really love that. I grew to really love the adventure of finding out, going in and seeing what else, and it was like sometimes going to a movie that you didn't know what you were going to see.
Absolutely.
And I really, really enjoyed that. It was like I just got to a point where it was like, oh, let's do another one, go in and see what else.
Well, what's interesting is the more you change your vantage point from the individual and raise your vantage point up to your omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, you can look at your life more from a detached state and see,
yes,
wait a minute, there were a lot of antagonists in this life. It's like wait a minute, that's a lot for a little girl to take and everything. So it's like really interesting to see the cause and effect of why and what this powerful thing that I'm doing now with my husband, what this energies try to prevent.
Right.
So anyone who's going through trauma, you must be really special to be getting that much negative attention. So hang on. Hang
Yeah,
on.
absolutely, hang on and know that you can change it is the
Mhm.
thing, you know. And one of the things I didn't realize when I was growing up was that I actually had choices. You know, I had choice, and I didn't think I did. I thought that everything was happening to me and I had no choice in it, you know. And once I realized I had choice, that changed my whole world, really.
Now, do you mean once you realize you had choice, you couldn't go back? Because I do this too, go back in that situation and visually change it in that
Yes,
moment. Okay,
yes,
good.
yeah, it's great. It's great stuff. And you can feel, like I can at the present moment, I can feel this on a global level, is that there's a really big breakthrough. We've broken through something huge now, and there's
Mhm.
some really beautiful new energy coming in, which we can feel. If you sit in the silence, that's a different silence. And it's like there's for me, seeing, I can see these avenues in a sense, or threads that are new, that are taking us into absolute new creation, not going from old wounding or sitting in anything that we've even imagined anymore. It's different.
Did that come recently, like in the last 2 weeks or so?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
you might want
Big
to
shift.
go back onto my YouTube page and look at the control and I, transcending the control and I forget the title of it, but that that one where we offered it out to the public. We do these public service things where anyone all over the world can join our tapping events. And there has been this control that's been on humanity, the controlling I, which a lot of people think they worship because it's tied in with our money and our meditation and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I retrieve some information from people's akashic records when I do the private sessions from them. And it came up to be like a camera. This control and this I that people worship was in the past era. It was like a controlling camera. And we did these taps. Now these taps were given to me from the adepts, and they mandated me to put out this book. There's a whole protocol in it called the energetic cleanse, and it's way any individual can target what person, place, thing, belief, group that has taken from them,
Right.
and they can actually dissipate that connection, cut that connection with them, cut their karmic ties with them, and get their energy back.
Yes.
And
That,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
So this is why you say Madame Blavatsky is so scary and intense. You see that intensity in me. But the passion for doing what we're doing is in the group sessions that we do this for all of humanity. We break that hold that outer influences have had on all of
Right.
humanity.
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful. And you've just mentioned her, Helena Blavatsky, and she was known as a Russian author and poet, I presume. She did poetry, did she?
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of her poetry. She was intense work. It's hard to read her stuff.
Yes, I had a book years ago, and I actually was a bit freaked out by her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Energetically, I could feel her, and she was really intense, and I got a bit fearful of her, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
really, really intense energy.
The role in what we're doing is so intense that it does scare a lot of people away. Like, so I was her in a past lifetime. I write like her, I look like her, and her goal is none less than to free all of humanity and to bring world peace and world empowerment and world awakening. So the intensity of that intention it's just here. And I don't mean to be, I'm like, I talk to plushies, I play with plushies and stuff. But the intensity of the work, that's the balance for how intense the energy is.
Yes, yes. No, definitely that. She was interesting to me. She's always intrigued, and she's always just sort of been around, if you get me. Like, often I just sort of, the memory of her comes back in, and, you know, next minute there's something popping up about her again. It's quite interesting. So I don't know what that is, but maybe it's just about getting over that fear of her, maybe.
I think, okay, so I don't know if you realize that I was locked up, starved, and tortured for a year. And that's when I went through the process of enlightenment. And I was there and I didn't check out. The spirit guides kept me alive, and I go, why do I have to stay here? And they told me I would be world renowned. And at that point, I had no writing abilities, no healing abilities. I was just some girl from the suburbs. And so with the work I'm doing now, a lot of people who are like suffering and come to me, they say they were in a bookstore and just suddenly this book of Madame Blavatsky's dropped it in front of them. Or they saw a picture of her and they thought to connect with me. So there's still a conduit of us working together or using that persona to get through the intentions of what needs to be done now.
Yes. Yes, that energy definitely of her then for me, and even now, you know, I can feel that needs to be absolutely for this time. Yeah.
But the thing is how intense it is how pure the love is.
Yes.
The love is incredible. You feel my love, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Instantly, I just am in love with you. And
Yeah.
I can't help but be in love with you because that's what we are.
Yeah, I know, it's lovely, eh? Same. It's beautiful. So how did that all come about for you with her? Like, when was that, and how? And when you say torture, was that you this lifetime, or was that her then?
No, she had a very she was rich. She had a pretty entitled lifetime. She actually left her husband and just traveled around the world, meeting with adepts that were still incarnated and gathering information about spirituality and science and trying to merge the two of them. That was her goal back then.
Yeah.
But so I had met this sociopath who actually ended up, I helped heal him, but he ended up becoming my roommate, and he ended up holding me captive in the basement and starving me for a year. So
Wow.
I almost died, and I came back after I left him thinking I was a retarded boy. But when we were first starting to connect, the self-esteem, my self-esteem was so low because of all the abuse that I would do anything for him. And so I got pulled into Stockholm syndrome, basically.
Right. Yes.
And so when I was getting, and he was into all these conspiracy theories and space, so I had access to all this craziness through him and got to sort it out a lot. But when I was going through that, I fell upon her on social media or whatever, on Google or something, and the guide said, "This is you." And I didn't want to believe it because she was so homely. She actually looks like my sister. And I was like, oh no, she's really homely. And then I came back from that experience of being starved and tortured a few years later, held up her book next to my profile, and my cousin went, and we looked exactly alike. And it's like, ah, damn.
It was insane. It is insane. It's like crazy, actually. But yeah, it's great. It's cool. So her energy, herself, your aspect of her has helped you move yourself back in to that space where you're
Not really. No, not really, because she didn't become prevalent until I was balanced out. So it was the spirit guides who worked with me while I was locked up and deprived. I was sensory deprived. All I had to work with the depths inwardly and the trees. And so I got to like drain myself of all this exterior stuff. And then I
Right.
went through the process of enlightenment, which is a real thing. It takes like 3 days. And what enlightenment actually is you see, religions get it wrong. Religions try to teach you to be just nice. And what enlightenment is seeing the wholeness of yourself, the good, the bad, to extremes, and accepting it all and moving through it and realizing the illusion of it all. Then
Yes.
you release the ego, and then you're in this peaceful state for like 3 days, and then the ego has to come back in as a tool, and it's a very scary process. But
Yeah. Yeah. And hard not to pick that. Well, not so much hard, but it's like ego wants to try and push itself back in there, as it was
absolutely.
before. You
And
know,
this,
so it's sort of not a battle, but it is a battle in a sense. And
it is, and that's what I think that's what every person on the planet is going through. And not only as individuals, but the universal mind, the universal ego is trying to prevent us from awakening.
Absolutely.
And that's all us beautiful souls are doing, is doing our bit to create the synergy from all these souls who wouldn't know each other without social media, to actually synergize and raise consciousness of 8 billion people.
Yes,
So,
I know. And it did you know when you were a kid that this was that this was going to be happening on the planet, that there was this time of awakening?
nothing. I knew when I was a child, I came in kind of like when I went through enlightenment, that pure state without the ego. That's how I was as a child. But I was so beaten up by the time. I mean, I was just,
Yeah.
and always beaten up to remove me from that. And I still felt I was special, but because of everything that came at me in this lifetime, all the humiliation and the degradation and the poverty and the abuse, that it's hard to remember without someone, reminding you.
Yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
Yes. It's interesting. I knew this when I was a kid, and
Did you?
I did. I didn't know how it was going to play out though, and that was the shock for me. It took me down some deep dark rabbit holes when it all first started opening up, and I was like, oh no, we weren't meant to be harming everyone,
Absolutely.
whatever. And I thought, gosh, this isn't how I didn't really know how I thought it was going to go, but I really wasn't into that. So it was a bit of a shock, but again, now seeing the shifts that are happening, it's like, and I knew in that moment, when it all first started sort of firing up, I knew that this is that time.
Yeah.
And all I need to do is stay grounded, stay in my heart, my love, and just keep that going. But it was difficult. I was swinging in and out for a while there,
Yes, and that's so exciting and enthusiasm. My purpose is a little bit more proactive on the battlefront.
Right.
So energetically, like I'm known as an energetic badass. Anyone who comes to me and they're like scared, and like exorcism's no big deal, just small energies compared to what we deal with. And it's the battle that's been going on is just so incredibly all-consuming. That it takes a lot of stamina. So you've earned that stamina and stuff, but the SFT protocol, if we could talk about that, which is in the book, you can also download it from my website, Jenuine Healing with a J, jenuinehealing.com, is a protocol where you can put in anything that's bothering you, any antagonist, any thought, belief, group, family, whatever, Christmases, holidays, whatever, and put it in. It's a worksheet of like 42 taps.
Yeah.
And then you do the taps. Can we go through one tap?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so and then you go through 42 of these taps with one issue. And as you do this, you'll have resistance, but then you'll find yourself crying, breathing funny, your energy will open up. And then I make these sounds because I move the energy, and it's like, now, even though people will be hearing this later, I can still tune into them beyond time and space and do a release from them. So
Yes.
the tap that we're going to do is one that can benefit everyone. So I'll give you a statement. You're going to say it 3 times. We'll tap on the top of your head. 4th time we'll tap in your chest, and a 5th time we'll tap in your abdomen. And when you tap it in the head, it's like programming your mind, which is like a 3D printer manifester, that take that high priority. Tap it into the chest, like set it in there, like, yes, this is important. And tap it into the abdomen to prevent the energies from scattering there.
Right.
So
Yep.
This is the statement. We release being a pawn in all moments.
We release being a
Pawn, like a chess piece, a pawn.
pawn. Right.
Yeah, I
Yep.
give it an accent.
We release being a pawn in this moment.
Nope, in all moments.
In our
Now,
moment.
what's really interesting is when the person can't say them right, it's the ego trying to prevent this from happening. So
Yep.
they usually feel stupid, but they shouldn't. It's just to gauge that you're on the right track.
Okay. So just say that again.
We release being a pawn in all moments.
In all moment.
In all moments.
All.
So in all, A-L-L.
All, A-L-L. That's what I
Because
thought.
what it is we're doing it in past lifetimes, future lifetimes, and present. We're taking all this energy of all these different times and space and putting it right into the moment right now. It's very powerful.
Okay. I'm just going to write it because
I know. It's people think it's really easy, and it's really not that easy. That's why I have private sessions and weekly group sessions, is to like teach people how to do this and break through that resistance.
So I release being a pawn in all moments.
No, we don't say I, because for one thing, we're doing it as a collective.
So
And when you say I, it's like the series thing on your computer. It's like the ego says I, and the ego will rear its ugly head.
yes.
So we say we.
We release being a pawn in all moments.
And you pause before, after the word pawn, you make a
Pawn.
pause.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So tapping on the head.
Yep.
Yep.
Like this.
We release being a pawn in all moments. We release being a pawn in all moments.
Make sure to pause there.
Oh. We release being a pawn in all moments. We release being a pawn in all moments. We release
abdomen.
Being a pawn in all moments.
Now, the beautiful thing about my YouTube page is that past clients have allowed me to record their sessions, and they're really powerful. But these are people like you and I that believe they're here to help humanity. So as vulnerable as these sessions are, they allow me to put them up so people out there listening can do the work if they can't get to me on their own.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's lovely.
So the YouTube page would be Jenuine Healing.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll put those links up if you can send them maybe, or to me, and then I can put them up when we put the recording out. So you grew up in New York and then shifted to Australia. Now you're living in Australia.
Yeah.
Just tell us about living in New York. How was that as a kid? Like, was it, how did growing up in New York go?
Well, I wasn't in New York City. I was in a suburb closer to Niagara Falls.
Oh, right.
So I was in the same town where Frederick Douglass was buried, and Susan B. Anthony, who got women the right to vote,
right,
lived 2 blocks away when I was living there. So it's a real nice place of freedom right there. And it was just nice there. An interesting thing about Rochester, New York, is where I'm from. Madame Blavatsky's first book was published in Rochester, New York.
Oh.
And the bookstore is still there as a used bookstore. It's Worldwide Books or Small World Books, something like that.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And it was really interesting because we went in there one day after we had the book of Me with Madame Blavatsky, and there was this real old codgety guy sitting behind the desk, right? And my assistant was talking to him and saying, well, this Madame Blavatsky, this is where she worked and got her book published, and we thought it would be interesting to have an event there. He was totally tuned out. And I just said to her, let's just go. He's exhausted. He's tired. He's not interested, right?
Yeah.
So we passed his desk to leave. This older man jumped up like he was 20 years younger and held his hand out and looked me in the eyes, and he wanted to meet me. And after that, I realized that he was like some kind of guard from a century, or what are they called?
Yeah.
From that past lifetime, coming back and finally fulfilling his purpose of holding that space open. So it was really interesting.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Gosh. And your journey to Australia, you met your husband?
Now, I was on a podcast with another person who does podcasts, and he just tuned in that one day and he saw me there, and he goes to himself and he told me later that this girl's the real deal. Now, at that point, I had given up on relationships.
Yeah.
Never had good relationships. I thought I was a monk. I didn't have a great self-esteem when it came to relationships. Never thought I would meet my soulmate. I didn't even believe in soulmates anymore. What is this?
Yeah.
And then we just started talking every night. And I was in the midst of starting a healing forest, because I have my own forest in America. I grew all the saplings, and now there's a forest. And they imbued with my energy. And when people walk through them, they will be able to get healing. So I was going to like just retire to this healing forest, and that would be it. Then when I talked to my husband, he had a similar vision, except his trees were fruit trees. And he was getting another side of the healing property where people would actually be fed physically, like nurtured through like fruits and meals and everything. So I realized right away that I had to come here and merge our two visions. So that's what we're in the process of doing. And what's really interesting is Madame Blavatsky, way back then, she talked about how special Australia was. And she basically left a breadcrumb of trails to Australia. And she talked about Australia being the new Lemuria, the second Lemuria or whatever.
Yeah.
You heard that?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't heard that, but don't know. It's it's interesting what's popping up. I'm seeing a lot of the it's a beautiful story though, and and something that can be left really for the future, it's like a legacy being left, isn't it? It's lovely.
Well, so I knew right away that I was going to be married to him, and he knew, but he wouldn't tell me. And so he knew that I was intuitive. So every night he would say, you know. And that was him saying, I love you. But he wouldn't tell me he loved me. He would just say, but I didn't know. So I wrote him for I talked to the trees, and the trees downloaded poetry to me. And I wrote him about 30 poems, one after another. Every morning he'd wake up, I'd have another poem. They made him so uncomfortable. He's like this. But then he realized that it was like goddess healing God energy, and that we were healing all of humanity. So he tolerated it a little better.
Wow, that's lovely.
Hey, would you want to hear one of the poems?
Yes, please.
This is a poem that I want to find the right one, because this is the first one that I was in the woods and the trees downloaded into me.
Oh,
And it's about wounded goddess. So I hope I can find it. 181.
that's lovely. And you like Australia? Like you're enjoying being there?
It's like home. I never want to go back.
Oh,
It's like, and oh my gosh, I love it so much. Still a little bit lonely. I still think I have scary energy where people, don't want to like be my buddy, But I tried volunteering at the dog rescue here, and they were mean to me.
oh,
Yeah, and but we have 3 puppies now, and we take them to the dog park, and we go to the they're not festivals. What are they? They're not markets, they're I get the words wrong. And
oh, yeah. The expos or?
just little farm markets. We call
Oh,
them
the produce market. Yeah, farmers markets.
farmers
Yeah.
markets. I call them festivals, and yeah. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And I can't call our veggie patch a garden. It's not a garden, it's functional. It's a veggie patch. So
Yeah.
there's little things I get wrong.
Yeah.
And
No, that's cute.
so this is on page 181, this book. And I did the artwork too in it, which is really interesting.
Mm.
It's kind of risque, a little bit of it's risque.
Oh, lovely.
But this is called Wounded Goddess, and this was downloaded to me from a tree. Lay the chains aside the bed, free her feet and hands. Gently cool and stroke her hair until she understands. Unclench her grip from her throat that dared her not to speak. Hush the voices in her mind, telling her that she's weak. Remove the dagger from her heart, a gift from a lover past. Undo the self-inflicted curses in her loneliness she cast. Unlace the corset from her breast, gently lay her down supine. Tend the broken, bruised, bare body. Remind her she's divine. Untie the dangling carrot of hope above her head. Fill that space with wondrous dreams that she can wear instead. Mend the mosaic of her pain, etched deep within despair. Fill in the crevices of defeat just by being there. Land 1,000 joy-filled intentions from a catapult of song. Prove to her that she has worth. Convince her she belongs.
Oh my goodness, that is so, so beautiful. That is, this just about makes me cry. It's so gorgeous. That's
So,
absolutely beautiful.
the trees are really special, and they really are. Back in pagan times, the trees and female energy, the yin, communicated. And that's what's happening again. So people, if you want to wake up your sensitive side, go talk to the trees, go love on the trees.
Yes, for sure. I'm totally a tree girl.
Mhm.
Oh, that is so beautiful. They've given me messages too, but nothing so profound as that. It's beautiful.
Well, there's an intention behind it, and every poem in here, there's an intention behind it, because some people don't get the energy work, and they never will. But if you want to give them a gift that'll get through their consciousness of giving them the intentions of awakening without shoving it in their face,
Yes.
it makes a great holiday gift.
Yeah, beautiful. That's so lovely. And so you hold private sessions, obviously, with clients, and you've talked about your YouTube. You've got a lot of healing videos and things up there people can go and have a look at. And again, we'll put all these links up. What's your what do you feel's like coming for you in this newness? Do you feel anything yet, or I'm only just starting to get some real stirrings in my gut? It's like haven't felt that for a long time.
Just an expansion of what I do, because there's people who do these taps for humanity every week, and we meet on a 5D forum, which is like really, it's really waking it up. But the big thing that's coming is my husband hasn't come into his own as his dynamo yet, which is upgrading all of business and creating business that actually works to uplift humanity instead of takes from them. So
Right.
we're kind of softening the surface, but businesses and business CEOs and owners have to be the type that care about people. So up until now, people have had to choose between their purpose and their vocation.
Yes.
With the work my husband and I are doing together, it's almost going to be when you go to your job, it's going to be as sacred as becoming a priest or becoming a healer or becoming your heart's content. You don't have to separate those things.
No.
So that'll happen when businesses shift so that they benefit people instead of energetically rape them. So that's a huge shift that's on the horizon.
That's huge,
And,
huge.
And can I just give my husband his valuation insight, Marvin Schneider on YouTube. So check him out, or on LinkedIn.
Right. Okay, cool. That's lovely. And definitely add his links in for sure when you give me all yours.
Absolutely.
And we put them up. Yeah. That's a big shift, and I can't wait for that shift to happen. And I remember, I don't know, have you ever read Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God?
I know of him. I was on his newsletters for a while, but yeah, I have a hard time reading because just so much energy is coming through all the time.
Yeah.
But yes, I know of him.
And God in there spoke about how if businesses put everything out in the open, so they showed what their intake was and their income, and they showed where it went and how much went to everywhere, they would not be able to
Justify.
Yeah, they couldn't be ripping anyone off because it's all going to be right there in front of everyone. They'd have to be truthful about what they're doing. And I remember that years and years and years and years ago, and I thought, this is where it's going to go. It has to, because there's too much corruption. And with what we're shifting now, it's got to go there. It can't stay in that place that it's been.
It's not possible. So what I'm doing is, like, for the last 15 years, I've been putting out taps to break down the resistance so individuals can feel their own empowerment. And as more individuals feel their own empowerment, they're not worshiping these CEOs, these billionaires as gods anymore. That has to stop.
Absolutely.
And so and we're seeing that end, and we're seeing those power structures collapse. And when the beauty of the taps that I do, because I'm a shaman too, is like I know how to exchange energy. So as these power factions collapse, the energy that's a byproduct of the collapse isn't going there for the next power monger to collect. What we're doing in energy, my husband and I and our people, is taking that energy and giving it back to all individuals. Every individual is getting their sovereignty back. That's why we're seeing evidence of that, is seeing so many people who've never protested before in Iran, in China, and Russia.
Yes.
Feeling their empowerment and not taking it anymore because they're finally getting their energy back. Yes.
That was one of the things that I do a lot of energy work too, and I just love energy. It hypes me. And one of the things I recognized earlier off, in these last 3 years, was that there was a lot of mental stuff going on, overflow of information. It was all mental and physical stuff and embodying. But what I was seeing was that it felt to me anyway that there wasn't a lot of energetic work being done. Like everything gone into the mind, it was like this mental trip.
Absolutely.
And it took me a while before I sort of got back into the energetics of it all too. And I thought, gosh, if we all just put the energy into energy, recognize what we were doing with the energy.
But the problem is that there's a glass ceiling on energy healers. And so they don't realize, like, it's good that you figured out. The adepts show me how even the mental realm which is a real place and vibration, is
Absolutely.
polluted, is absolutely polluted. And all this rhetoric and all these politicians have polluted it. So if you're meditating and you're only going to the mental realm, you're just sucking in pollution.
I know.
So that's why, and this glass ceiling, the name for it is the daisy of death. And what it is it's the inability for those who are seeking to actually break through the mental realm into the pure positive or nothingness states.
Yes.
So if you ever want to do a dynamic energetic cleanse, if you want to try this, go to my website, download the energetic cleanse, and do it for yourself on the daisy of death. And you will feel that, Mandy. And anyone
I felt it. Yeah. I was, years ago, I was taken into the realm of the minefield here of the planet, the mind, and like it was literally mental. I felt like I was going mental, but what was being shown to me was the energy with thought and the energy impact of thought. And so by going into being taken into and shown this realm, it was just like a spaghetti network of all these threads of thought that were everywhere. And it was just like hideous, actually. It really was.
So
yeah. And from there, when I ever go anywhere, it's always outside the planet's bodies, you know, and into that unknown. I that's where I get myself.
can I teach the listeners how to do it for themselves really quick?
Absolutely.
So when I was given this by my adepts, everyone's adepts, the adepts, they don't want to be known by personalities because they want to remain clean. It's about the work.
Yeah.
So when I was going in for my first poltergeist, I was like kind of scared, like, oh, the doors were banging, lights were flicking off, and I was scared. So the adept sat me down before I went, and they said, make your love bigger than the fear. And I didn't know how to do that. So they said, inwardly visualize the sun 1 billion times bigger than our sun. And then with your intention, scrunch it down like a Murph ball into a little ball, scrunch it down, pull it into yourself, and then just let it go and just let it expound out. And then your emanation will be your natural protection, and you can blast out all these nefarious energies that are trying to bump into you and trying to.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Another thing you can do if anyone's interested in doing the energetic cleanse, which in the book is on page 42, I believe, or 38 or 42. Do the energetic cleanse on weaponized prayer, weaponized thought, weaponized speech, because that's what individuals, when we did the tap, being used as a pawn.
Yeah.
That's what people are being trained to do.
Yeah.
It's really intense. I know I'm like being intense right now and sharing.
No, it's good.
And there's another person who writes to me and asks questions. A lot of people ask for help. And he said he hits these conspiracy theories that he wanted to pass on to me. Now I understand that when there's a conspiracy theory, what it is a truth. Those who want to capture your energy will present a truth and a lie, and they'll give you the truth, and that'll help you open up your energy to them. And then they insert the lie, and then you're there.
Yes.
So I tried to explain to this guy that these aren't healthy, and even though you're not affected by these conspiracy theories, other people are. So I go, they're like STDs. You might be passing on crabs and not know it, right?
Yes.
So I named them energetic transmitted disinformation, energetically transmitted disinformation. So you can do the energetic cleanse on ETDs, and it helped clean out all those things that we believe as truth, because they were presented as truth, but then they were like They
Yeah.
were given to us, backdoored to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's so many layers, eh? Just so many layers. And that's something that I don't know, I don't even know how it all happened really, but I've always been taken into those heavy duty dark. I'm one of those busters as well, so you know, and I do a lot of exorcism type work and all that sort of thing. But
Oh no, not a bastard, you're a badass. You're not a bastard. Why she called herself a bastard? No, you're a badass. I already knew that. As a matter of fact, as we're sitting here, I'm seeing your hair is all purple. It's like the purple flame. It's really beautiful.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that's definitely one of my colors. And the green. Yeah, it's very interesting work, and I used to have so much. It felt like spirit were hunting me when I was a kid, you know, being aware and awake, and there was just this energy always at my windows, scraping their fingernails down my windows at night, and it was hideous. It was really hideous and very dark.
Well, this is my joke, but this is true. When there were fingernails scraping there, it was my drunk mother trying to get back in the house. Just the parts.
That would have been all right with me if it was, but these
no, it was terrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying. I remember hiding myself under my blankets, not trying to breathe so that they wouldn't hear where I was. So it's basically suffocating myself to try and hide, but there was nowhere to hide, of course.
So how did you cope with that? Because part of your energy work now, do you like that's part of my energy work is I know there's terrified little children and animals all over the world. So when I sit down and other people sit down and pray, I'm there, I'm all over there, and I'm with them, and I'm knocking these badasses out of their energy.
That's it. And what I got to my early teenage years, about 13, and I had a seance. So Madam Blavatsky was probably there helping me with the seance.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But it was scary. I think what happened was my guidance actually made it scare me so that I'd stop.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't putting any protections, nothing. It was wide open to anything. And it wasn't until I wrote my book actually that I realized, because that's where I start the book is from those energy seances. And I realized I needed to sort of shut a door on that, you know, I needed to go back and shut this door that I'd opened. But what I did was I got into my early teens and I thought the only way that I'm going to stop fearing these dark energies is by understanding them. So I then started almost not quite interviewing them, starting to sort of interact in a way with them that I was finding out what they were about. But then as life went on, I started getting called in to do a lot of clearing work, and a lot of it was finding out more and more about those types of energies and the beasts, really, the beasts and things that are out there.
What did you find out? What was your
that most of them have been created from they've all been created from thought. Definitely, there's been so much that has just been transferred into thought from different aspects. You know, the Christian, you know, if we go there, and Satan and the demon and all the stuff. And I was told to go to an evening down in Auckland one night. It was an exorcist that had come out from America. He was a very weird looking guy. He had very transparent skin. You could see all his veins coming through. He was a really weird little fella. And he got up on stage and he started talking about demons and Satan and all of that. And whenever he mentioned God or Christ, when was very rare in conversation to his demons and all the rest of it, this woman down in the front row would writhe around and, you know, and all these energies and stuff. And it was definitely an eye-opener. I saw how he manipulated and how he used what he, she was a bit of an actress down in the front row for me. He left it right till the very last, you know, He just kept ignoring her and saying, "You're not running the show, I am," all that sort of thing. It was just silly. But what I saw was that in Christianity, because Christ, Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary were right with me all the way through this, and they said to me that the way that I knew how my love was for Christ, it wasn't about putting him up on a pedestal. It was about recognizing that Christ is me as well, and that we're all aspects of each other, and that I had that ability the same as Christ did.
Awesome.
And so I saw how Christianity, well, this talk of Satan and demons had actually brought into, energetically, had created into being what they had been talking about, really, and creating such fear in people that it created entities.
And so the way I describe them was, it's just stagnant energy that's out there, like it passes through and then it identifies with a weakness in you, it settles in your body, and then you own it. So,
absolutely.
And that's the same thing with most diseases and stuff. And so,
yes.
And so that's why it's so easy for us to release those things.
Yes.
It's so cool that you got that same thing and stuff. And you can tell if someone is manipulated by, you tell them that there's no demons, and they start to argue for demons. You say, yes, there's demons, and I've experienced them. And you try to educate them, and they're entrenched in that. So they're invested in the demons on some level.
Absolutely. And this guy he got off stage and he came around all of us in the rows of seats, and there weren't many people there because it was a big Christian thing. And when I walked in, after being told to go, and I'm having a bit of an argument with spirit going, well, I'm not going unless it's free. And so, yes, that's what it was. Oh, no, I said, no, if the tickets are over $100, then that's my cutoff point. Well, they were free. There wasn't any charge. So I couldn't even argue with that. I had to go. And when I walked in, they were praying and carrying on. And I thought, oh, no, I didn't even think about it being a Christian thing, as such. And that's okay. I didn't mind that part. It was that I didn't want to be preached to. I didn't want to be tried to, saved and all the rest of it. So I sat in this energy. And he got off the stage. And the way that he went to find the demons in you was that he'd push your head like this. He'd come up and he'd stand in front of people and he'd just push their head. And then, of course,
he couldn't see an energy.
If there was a reaction,
it's ridiculous because
it's a demon.
It's so ridiculous because part of what I wish is I like to teach people how to perceive an energy, using those subtle cues.
Yes.
And when you see and know for yourself, I don't have to know when a politician is lying. I don't need proof. I know when they're lying. It's energetically off. And it's like, people need to understand that, yes, there are perceptions and energy that give you this empowerment where you won't be deceived anymore.
Yes, exactly. And I just thought, you come over and start pushing my head like that, buddy, and you will see a demon.
I know.
No, I mean, it was just abusive and it was ridiculous, but oh my goodness.
So you know what would be cool? So this is the type of thing that I think is cool. It's like there's no time and space. So me and you as badass energy workers are now, since you're talking about it, we're back in that room and we can break up all the energy with our love and free everyone who was duped by that.
Yes, absolutely. And I sort of did that because it was the next morning I had the powwow again with Christ, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And Mother Mary said to me, you love my son the way I love my son. She said, it's not about religion. It's just heart and love. That was it, plain and simple. Yeah.
That's funny. I just said that to a client 2 days ago. She came to me for a session for her son and an addiction. And it's on my YouTube, A Son's Addiction. And I go, the reason I can do this is because I love your son just in the same way he doesn't have to come through my body. I love your son. So us working together, there's a synergy in that love.
Yes.
So I think that's what healing is, basically, is making your love that pure that you can see all the non-love.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And there's just this, I call it bulletproof, when you get to that point where, like we are maybe, and many others, is that you know you so well that you're just bulletproof to all of that stuff. There's nothing that can get in anymore.
Right.
It's not like that fear can seep in and take over again or anything like that.
You know how my spirit guides explained it to me? Because they explained it to me when I was on the property, when I was like with a sociopath. And they said, it's like a fireman's hose. The force is so strong, nobody's going to come near that fireman because the force is that strong. Well, when you love to the degree that we love, it's like a fireman's hose of love
Yes.
all around your beingness. So nothing can penetrate you. There's no need to fear. But when you do fear and you let down that love, that's when you're letting it in. So that's why one of the controlling ways to control someone is try to get them to fear, because it lets down the guards of love, which is.
Yes. Gosh. Oh, this world, isn't it fun?
It's nice to talk to you and get a reassurance that other people are doing the work. And there is spiritual people in New Zealand and Australia and everything.
There's a
I'm
lot.
looking to be accepted at some point, and
well, I don't know, maybe, and put that intention out for us both here today, that this is part of that, coming into that acceptance from people in the world. But it's an interesting space. And I think, when I look at what's going on now and how much is breaking through from the blindfolding, and that fear base and all of that, there's so much opening up. I mean, children now that aren't going to go to mainstream schooling, and they're going to be homeschooled. There's so many. We've got it's almost like an 8 to 9 month waiting list here in New Zealand for homeschooling approval. So there's so many people that are taking their children out of schools that want to homeschool them, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I was shown that 13 odd years ago, that there were going to be these pods, I keep calling them pods, of children that were going to be educated in nature, about nature. Schools were going to change, the teachings were going to change.
I saw it about maybe like 35 years ago, and I even saw where children as young as babies were going to be taught based on what they were interested in, instead of forcing them to come out of their interest, introducing them to a lot of different things, but what they gravitated to, give them more. So it's like spiraling, and the more they love something, the more you gave them to learn.
That's great. It is. It's I think at the moment, what I keep sort of getting to put out there is about, just getting people to sort of look further afield now. It's like everyone's sort of right in this now moment, because we were locked up, we weren't able to do a lot, so it was just being present in the day, which has been great. And now it's just start to, consciously create what it is. You really, really are sort of looking at what your world wants to be. What is it that you want in your world now? And really consciously start actioning that into being, because we but it's about bringing that energy into being now, not just talking about it, not just, playing with it, but action.
And the interesting thing about that is people assume that only humans are awakening. But if you look on YouTube, you see all these interactions of animals and how they're uplifting and communicating. Communicate with animals, communicate with trees. Birds are here to do their part. Listen to the wind, listen to the sunshine, listen to nature. It's speaking.
It is speaking. It always has, and it does. I love it. And that's the best thing, when it gets too much in this world, when it's an overload and the mind's too, you know, busy and all of that. Just go and lay out on the lawn, on your grass, you know, in your backyard or front yard or whatever, and just lay there for 5 minutes.
And they can always do a tap. We release being overwhelmed in all moments. We release being confused. We release the chaos. Anything. There's whole books on it.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that would be lovely for you to have some of those sold for Christmas gifts and things. That would be lovely. And Jen, if there's anything you want to leave the audience with in respect to anything, what would that be? Anything? Or
that right now is a very important time, and as you say, and our synergy between us is really excited. And people matter. What they say, think, do matters. It's not an option to check out anymore, because everyone has to participate in awakening. That's what awakening is you waking up. So I do have this event every week where people can sign up to get a sample of my healing work, where it's not a big commitment, and you're in a group setting, so it's not. So I think that's I forget the time, because it's every Sunday for us and every Saturday for Americans. So just check on my website, and there's also the private sessions, which can lead to the 5D forum. And there's ways to hone your skills. You don't have to adopt any belief system outside of your own. It's all about honing your own belief system, your own inner compass. Yeah, that's where the empowerment is for.
It is beautiful. Oh, that's so lovely. Well, it was absolutely awesome talking with you and chatting with you for this time, and it's been an hour, and it's just gone very quickly, as it does. And thank you so much for coming in, and yeah, much love to you and your family and all that you're doing here and everywhere.
Thank you. Same to you. I really appreciate you doing your purpose. So, you know, there's not very many venues for us, you know, to get out there, because everything's been shut down, you know, everything gets messed with. So thank you for doing this. It's really important.
So welcome. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch. That would be lovely. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.